Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Now offering video visits so you can take control of your orthopedic care from the comfort of your home. Schedule online at orthocarolina.com. Ortho Carolina, you improve.
Nerds roll.
Oh, my glasses are broken.
Surprise me. My pocket is protected.
Surprise me.
I am a super nerd.
Surprise me.
Hey.
Excelsior.
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Starring Andy.
I am a former entertainment journalist.
I am a super nerd.
TBJ.
Hi, this is Tiffany. You may hear me be referred to as TBJ.
TBJ, y'all.
I am what I like to call a surprise nerd.
Art Star.
My name is Art Star, and I am an artist.
Yo, my name is Joe, and I am the nerd student. The nerd pupil, if you will.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, you
can I say something real quick?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
So, like,
always.
I started playing Star Wars Battlefront 2, I think it's called.
Oh yeah.
And like before the game starts, you get to you accrue points. You get to choose certain people or whatever.
Yeah.
And you start off you starting off on the dark side. But I started off with I guess a couple of clone troopers or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And once you unlock a certain amount of points, you get to play with Kylo Ren. And when I tell you, when I unlocked the Kylo Ren character, just playing with him, it felt so exhilarating. Just like his moveset. It's like you just sitting there just pressing a button and just pushing people away, slicing them with the lightsaber. I felt amazing. And all I kept thinking about was if Tiffany could see me now. I just cut people down awesome.
I'd be in the back shaking my head at you.
I'm like, oh, Kylo.
I was really obsessed with Battlefront 1, the OT, and I liked playing as Darth Vader because you can force choke people and just walk around and just
it's amazing.
Up and choke them.
Just like
Did you guys hear the announcement?
And then just have him come to you and then just slice him. Just have him come to you and just hit him with your sword and with your lightsaber, zoom.
Did you hear the nerd announcement this week about a Star Wars video games?
They're making some kind of open world one.
Yeah, they announced this week because EA doesn't own the rights to it anymore. The specific
Right.
Yeah.
That they're going to make an open world like GTA type of thing, Star Wars, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So many possibilities.
Oh yeah.
I don't do much gaming, so I'll be out of the loop on those combos.
Well, maybe that's a whole season of Nerd School where we introduce you to nerd gaming and we record it.
I don't think gaming is in my nerd repertoire. There's a lot of things I can nerd out on, and I don't think gaming's there. And I think I'm okay
you have
with
to find
that.
your niche in gaming.
All that extra time you have.
Yeah, no.
You gotta
My
have
son
time.
tried very
That's the
hard to
problem.
get me into games. I like the old school, take it back to the 90s when Street Fighter. When I just pressed all the buttons. This is how I played Street Fighter. I just pressed all the things.
Button mashing.
And then I would win. I'd be like, woo.
And then that one person all the moves my God, she's just pressing buttons.
Yep, I've been there.
And it didn't work.
I played against someone who's like, all you're doing is pressing all the buttons. That's all I know how to do.
Just press the button. It's down, circle back, A, B, H, go and do it.
Yeah, that's why that's probably the only game I can play, any fighter game.
Gaming nerds is a whole other breed of its own.
I know. I live with one of them. I can hear it. It is eventful.
And with that, we've opened the show, the next episode, and we left off with Iron Man 2. And we had just started the movie. We just got to about the point where they show the Stark Expo, and I had some questions about that. They answered it. We argued about underoos for a little bit, and then we ran out of time, so we're going to pick up right from that spot. Okay, back to the movie. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I don't know how I stumbled upon this knowledge, but at the Stark Expo, they show all these kids, all these women clamoring for Tony, children wanting autographs, and we see Happy, and then a kid dressed up as Iron Man, and he kind of He's in there twice, I think, in the movie, but it's been confirmed by actor Tom Holland, who plays Peter Parker in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that his character appeared in the movie and was the little boy at the Stark Expo wearing the Iron Man helmet when the expo was attacked by Hammer Tech drones later on.
Yeah.
Not originally.
I
Not
think that was a
originally,
fan
though.
theory.
Yeah,
It was a fan theory that, and Tom Holland said, sure.
Oh, okay. So you don't...
They like
There's no reason that
retconned
couldn't
it.
be.
They retconned it for the Spider-Man movies.
Okay.
So, they can, I guess, another way to tie him to Tony Stark and everything.
So there's you guys don't buy any of that.
That was not intended. That was just a kid.
Oh, okay.
But then nerds started when Spider-Man came in and Tom Holland showed up. They're like, oh, all right, so Tom Holland's young enough. He could have been that kid in Iron Man 2.
Today I watched a thing on Shang-Chi or whatever, and this is building into the next Iron Man movie. But they had this whole thing like, we've already experienced the 10 Rings, Joe. Remember the 10 Rings, Joe?
That's
yeah, okay, Joe.
It's
pop quiz, Joe. It's a pop quiz, Joe.
You have to tell him before you give him a quiz.
Well, anyway, so but basically, and this
Lord of the Rings?
thing about and this thing about Shang-Chi, they talk about the 10 Rings, and they started like there's one dude he was trying to sit there and think about how they're gonna somehow follow the whole storyline of the 10 Ring and not make it sort of like Infinity Saga, but then also make mention of like how like Black Panther, he had like I guess his father had one of those rings. Then they show like a ring that I should have wrote this down, but it's a ring that someone had in like Obadiah Stane's ring. They make mention of his ring, so it's like here's a movie that's coming out supposedly coming out the middle of next year, but then they're also sitting there trying to because Marvel does this thing where they take a movie and they'll go back years and years and it's like, okay, remember that one scene, this right here, this is somehow connected to that, and then it almost makes it believable to you, the viewer. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that. Long story short, it's like that same thing with this little kid. It's like, okay, this happened 6 years ago, so it's feasible that Peter Parker now is a teenager. That makes sense that he would have been a little kid back then, and then this happened in Queens where he's from. So like this whole referential thing that I guess Marvel does a lot of.
Well, it kind of makes you want to go back and watch the old movie. Then, okay, and I'm going to go back and watch Iron Man 2 again, and I didn't buy it, so now I pay $3.99 to buy it on whatever streaming service it's on or whatever.
I mean, but and as a nerd, callbacks are like extremely sexy.
Yeah, and nerds love it. If you reference a story that we read that not everybody has read and say, oh, that story that you remember, it's super important for this next one, and you're like, oh yeah.
I mean, like
the word just exciting, not quite sexy.
Listen, just imagine you sitting there in a movie theater and you're watching it, and for the most part, a lot of times some of these movies, unless you're going to like the early matinee when it first comes out, like maybe like 20% of the people in the theater actually know the story. A lot of them it's like, oh, this is a big budget movie, let's go see it. But imagine you're one of those 20-25%. You're sitting in that seat and you see this thing, and in your mind was like, whoa. And then you go back to this other movie, total mind fuck. Sexy.
That's what I think. That's what I think makes these so cool for you guys. I think there's they incorporate all this stuff that you guys love. And then idiots like me are sitting next to you like, what is this from the comics? Is this from that? What is this? What is the background? Just don't go see it with me because I'll drive you nuts probably.
No, we will not go to the movie. So we will talk to him after the movie.
Yeah, I always call Andy after
it's right. It's giving nerds, reminding nerds what they liked about it, and showing everyone else what's cool about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's it's cool, nerds, and we're gonna show everyone else why it's cool, and you're gonna like it because you already know it's cool.
And so you're like an insider, like you guys are treated as insiders now, like
kind of, but they
sort of rewarding you for all of your dedication to nerddom.
Right, and the trick is to appeal to nerds and also still being able to surprise nerds who read all the
Yes.
stuff and know what should be coming, and like it's the balance of we know we need to get enough of what you expect to be there, and layer on some shit you don't expect, like some swerves that you're not going to understand. Like Iron Man 3 tried to do that, and a lot of nerds got pissed because, but we'll get into that. But that's the 10 Rings that Art was talking about.
Oh, I don't know what. Yeah.
The 10 Rings is like the terrorist organization that had kidnapped Tony Stark in the first one. That you only kind of heard them call the 10 Rings, and that's a reference to the Mandarin, who has a ring on each of his fingers. Each ring has a special power, and if he combines them all, he rules everything with an iron fist full of rings.
Oh.
And then they follow that up in Iron Man 3, and they do a huge swerve with Ben Kingsley that went over well in some circles and not so much in others. And
okay, so we'll talk about that in Iron Man 3, right?
Right.
Because, I mean, give it one movie at a time.
We'll go.
I don't have that kind of knowledge. I gotta soak this one in because you're way ahead of me, and I vaguely remember that. But as I'm watching these for the podcast, I'm watching them differently. I'm like really paying attention, and one thing I'm really realizing is, as I'm doing this for the podcast, I'm realizing I generally don't pay that much attention to movies. These kind of movies, I watch them, and I kind of like during the exposition parts. Like I learned a lot watching this and paying attention because I guess my mind wanders. I don't know if I have ADD, but I'm probably thinking about other things, and then I see a bunch of explosions. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, look at this fight scene. I have no idea what they're fighting about usually, I guess. Like, I think I tone out. But now that I'm really paying attention to this, like, I think I'm appreciating them more, and I'm understanding more about what's happening.
I think... Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, I think you're more common than you think you are. I think a lot of people do that. They're there for the fight scenes, and they're there for the explosions.
Yeah. And the cool.
So you're, yeah. The cool
and the
effects.
banter.
Yeah.
And there needs to be just enough like funny lines and interesting character bits to keep people in.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
So that's what I've always. That's like I'm that kind of nerd. Like I like these movies just for the fun, escapism, and the blowing up. And I don't care who the villain is. I don't care why they're fighting him. I don't care how he's related to Scarlet Witch or whoever else. I don't give a shit. I just want to see all that. But now that I'm learning from you guys, I'm like actually appreciating some of it. So anyway, so thank you.
I think what's going to end up happening is the more we tell you and the more you learn about it, once you start, even stuff that you've already seen, like even now when I recently, I don't know why, but for some reason, like a lot of these Marvel movies have been coming on. So, I'd already sat there and watched Iron Man 2 again, watched it again, and I started watching Thor. But then, a couple of days, last week, I watched Thor Ragnarok. And then after Ragnarok went off, Civil War came on. I watched Infinity Saga. But it's watching these movies over again, it's like you start, for instance, with Iron Man 2. I've watched Iron Man 2 a lot. But then I found, I started to break it down a little bit. So I've seen this, and we haven't gotten to that part, this part yet, but the thing, my aesthetic thing with a scene that Don Cheadle was in, and had I not watched Iron Man 2 as much as I did, I wouldn't have been that doesn't make sense, kind of, sort of. But I guess, if you're watching it, you don't pay this that much attention, but as a nerd, you're not even a nerd, even if you're someone who just says, who second, I don't understand how is this possible. And before, I never said, oh, cool. But now it's something ain't right about this.
I think I know what your problem is going to be, and I think you're trying to think of Don Cheadle as the character he played on the Golden Palace, which is the spinoff of the Golden Girls. And you don't know how he fits into the Marvel universe if he was that guy.
Are you trying to bring back your theory of people playing a continuous character all over again?
I had totally forgot that he was on. I watched that episode. I want to say I seen it maybe a couple of months ago, and I was like, oh shit, Don Cheadle, and it just seemed really out of. I don't know if because it's an older show, but it still just felt weird. Seeing him there.
He doesn't seem old enough to have been on that. But if you look at his resume, I looked it up on IMDb, he's been in everything. He's been in all kinds of shows.
It's called Black Don't Crack. And Don
was
Cheadle
in-
is there, and he is on with his coconut oil, looking young all the time. He just ain't aging.
The Golden Palace bit came back recently because there was an exchange with him and Rue McClanahan about the Confederate flag, and that's been kind of going viral. And then all these people are like, "See, Don Cheadle was on Golden Girls. They talk about this," and I'm correcting everybody. That was Golden Palace, like it matters. The gist of it was about the Confederate flag and everything, and Blanche changes her ways or whatever.
Right.
Well, you're a Golden Girls nerd if you're on correcting people online
know,
about the specific shows.
I guess I am.
Good catch, Andy. Yes, because everybody else just let it be, and he's like, actually, it's Golden Palace.
I know more about Golden Girls, and I think I am a bit of a Golden Girls nerd. I own Rue McClanahan socks now. I got them for Father's Day. Anyway,
there's also Don Cheadle as I think a young, maybe even a teenager, appeared on Night Court.
Oh yeah, that's what I saw. I couldn't believe he was old enough to be on Night Court.
I think he held everybody hostage for a whole episode.
Well, speaking of Don Cheadle and movies and what he's been in, are you guys all movie buffs? Andy, I know you're generally a movie buff. Tiffany and Art, are you guys big movie buffs? Like generally?
As far as what, like what do you mean, like
having to see it when it comes out?
Like, do you see a lot of movies? Like, have you seen a lot of movies? Like, do you know? Have you ever played the Kevin Bacon game where you relate an actor and what movie they were in?
6 Degrees of Separation. 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
I used to be more of a movie buff. I think in the last couple years, I have dialed back, probably because movies just keep getting more and more expensive.
Yeah.
I still like to see things in the theater. I do not have to be there on the first weekend anymore. But I used to really need to be in the theater. I would go to a midnight showing. I had to watch everything, and if it was nominated for an award, then I had to watch it.
Yeah.
And before the Oscars came out, I watched every movie, no questions asked. And in the last 2 years, it's not been a top priority.
Yeah.
I used to watch. Go Dan.
I just want to point out that you'll note that Tiffany had to correct you on the name of the Kevin Bacon game. It's 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
That makes Tiffany a nerd as well.
So she definitely knows more about that than me.
Yeah.
It's a game.
I used to watch